Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Lakesha Woods from Enjoy Life Magazine, and today I have on the line with me Matthew Carter. Matthew is an author, he's also a philanthropist, a model, an actor. This young man has a wealth of talent and stored in himself. He recently released a book called War Angel The Awakening, and today I have him on the line to share many of his upcoming projects as well as to discuss with us some things that he's been doing in the industry. So, Matthew, where would you like to start?
I actually don't know where I should start. So many things going on. I'm just so grateful to God for what He's doing in my life.
Okay, so I think I'll take it from here then, since you don't know where to start. Since we last were in communication with each other, you were modeling, and you were one of the models on my roster through Ebony Flair Entertainment. And since then, I know that you have went on to bigger and greater things. You launched your own nonprofit organization, A Real Desire. Tell us some things that you've been doing with A Real Desire.
A real desire. I've actually been able to do a few talent shows slash charities. A couple were for churches, Toys for Tots. They help raise toys for a lot of the kids in the area, not just the members of the church, but a lot of people in the community where the church was, because the church liked to pass out toys to families who couldn't afford to get anything for their kids. So we did a show to raise over 500 toys to pass out to the community. Um, I've also done a few talent shows to help get some new artists started that have had no experience whatsoever and were very afraid to step out. So it's been very, very enjoyable to help people start from ground zero and get them some of the key things that they really need to go ahead and start growing in the industry.
Okay. And what type of artist or entertainer would one have to be in order to get assistance from a Real Desire?
There is actually really no age requirement and no specific titles when it comes to artists. We work with people of different backgrounds. We just ask people come with the right mind, determination, passion, and love. I've worked with people who sing, dance, model, act, and I've even worked with people who actually like to draw. So that's why I decided just to use the word artist, because I didn't want to just focus on just one type of talent. And even if it's not something that I do personally, I've been able to make connections with those who do work, or I find connections with those who do work in whatever field a particular individual is interested in developing talent in.
Now, so you do work with artist development and artist promotions.
Correct. The
Okay.
talent shows actually focus on the promotion and help get them seen by different people so they can be picked up by somebody who may be more into the industry in that particular title of whatever it is that they're doing or seeking to grow.
Okay. And is there any fee for the artists and entertainers to pay? I know it's a nonprofit organization, but do you charge anything for your assistance?
Actually, I don't charge anything. I just ask them to be very serious about what they want, and I actually start off just kind of surveying and making sure that they're not just testing and seeing if it's something that they want to do. I want to make sure that they understand that, make sure I'm working with people who already tested the waters of trying to see if it's something they want to do. Because it's a lot of time that I'm volunteering, and a lot of people that I work with are volunteering. I don't have any sponsors at the moment. That's what I'm working on, to be able to pay people who are going to be working with the artists, but the person, the individual themselves, they don't have to come out of pocket with anything to get service is from a real desire, but I do ask that they give something towards the organization because that's one thing I noticed that people definitely love to receive, but they have a problem with giving.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, what, from your experience after running the nonprofit for several years now, are you more motivated to continue on this journey of helping entertainers, or how do you feel like, you know, is there anything that would stop you from working with them?
It's definitely nothing that will stop me. It's just everything that I've encountered is shown me how to make things work, even though I don't have the funds, things can still be done. As opposed to, like I said, working with people and not charging them, just ensuring that they're still giving their time to help promote and tell people about the organization because they may know someone and they don't even know it that will be willing to help the organization in a lot of different ways. It doesn't even have to be money. It can just be volunteering their service because they may work for a law firm or they may work for an organization that is looking to bring an organization like a River Valley in and give us the platform that we need to keep growing and doing things that we want to do to help people.
Well, it's certainly a wonderful effort that you're putting forth, and it requires a lot of patience to work with aspiring talent. And just to volunteer your time, it shows a lot of selflessness, and it shows that you're a giver. A lot of people want to get to the next level, but they don't have the actual desire to put forth the effort that it takes to invest in themselves or to take the time to learn and hone their crafts. So I really do applaud you for just taking time outside of your own career to assist other people. Which brings me to wanting to find out what's been going on with you on the modeling end of the business. I know that you're also acting, but where has your career gone with your modeling career, with your modeling?
I'm actually still modeling. I actually moved to New York against kind of against my will in 2014. I came up here and just to look around for a week because I was interested in moving to New York. And when I talked to a doctor about possibly moving here, and they suggested that I try to stay here, and I went ahead and prayed on that and stayed here because I was feeling I need to go ahead and act out on faith. I was placed in a shelter for 3 months, but I didn't focus on the shelter. I focused on my purpose of coming to New York and where I knew God would take me. In the process of me staying in the shelter, I was able to participate and model for New York Fashion Week. And I was able to connect with about 3 or 4 different designers here in New York City. And we just developed a bond. So we became friends, and I was able to not only model for New York Fashion Week in August of 2014, but also the following year, February of 2015. And I've been able to model for a couple online magazines and international magazine in Brazil, and I see that I made the newspaper there in Brazil. It's just been such a blessing to be able to continue in the acting world and also the modeling world to build my career and build my brand.
Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations on making it in the Brazil publication. That's a big deal. That's really a big deal. So I'm sure the market in New York is a lot more competitive than in Georgia. You were previously in the Atlanta area, or what area of Georgia you were in?
I lived in Decatur with the Metro of Atlanta.
Okay, okay. And when you made that transition, wow, staying in a shelter for 3 months will probably be something that will break a lot of people. They would probably say, "Hey, I think I made a mistake. I need to go back home. Not even to Georgia. Some people would have. You're from Florida, and some people would have went back home all the way back down south. They would have went back home, like for real.
And it was tough. It really, it was, oh my gosh, it was tough. Because it wasn't just the fact of living in the shelter. I gave up everything. I'm not going to lie. I gave up. I was living in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and I gave that up to live in the shelter. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, of course, was telling me that I was crazy, I was stupid, because why would I leave everything and go into nothing? Mm-hmm. And on top of that, people in the shelter, pretty much everybody's on drugs, so I have to deal with the K2 smoke, synthetic marijuana. I have to deal with the people on crack. I have to deal with them knocking on my door trying to solicit sex to me because they're trying to get money to buy drugs. So I had to deal with a lot, and there were many nights. There were many nights I cried and I asked God, why would He bring me here to this place to be in the situation? But at the same time, I had to focus on the faith and realize it wasn't about me. Mm-hmm. It wasn't about me. So I started to go ahead and just make public of what I was dealing with, but not sound so depressed about it, and just stay hopeful and optimistic, and I just stay faithful. And like I said, in the midst of that, I just was able to connect with the people that I connected with, and I was on the verge of just giving up and going applying for a regular job, because people don't understand, you give up a lot by walking and choosing a career as an artist. It's hard to find a job that actually works with what you're doing, when you're wanting to grow. And the moment that I was willing and ready to just go apply, I got a phone call from my first acting gig here in New York, and within 3 months, I had my own apartment.
Wow. Okay. Which brings me to another question about your leap of faith to write this book. So you got your apartment. You had your first gig. Was it you said a first acting gig?
Yes. Was for Nurse Jackie.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so then within 3 months you had your own apartment. When did you decide to write the book?
To be honest with you, I had started writing the book before I left Atlanta.
Okay.
I was actually working as a stand-in for Michael Williams on the movie Bestie with Queen Latifah. Mm-hmm. And when we wrapped the last day, the director, Miss Dee Reeves, she came up to me and she asked me, did I want to be an actor? And I told her yes. And she told me she could tell just by watching me stand in and work with the show for the 4 weeks that I was with them. She actually told me that something was telling her to tell me to write, because she asked me about a writer, and I told her no. And she said, well, something's telling me to tell you to write. I don't know, I don't usually do this, but something's telling me to tell you to write. So I don't know what it means, but just write. And I took that, and I decided I was trying to write a different way. And then God showed me, he said, no, this is what I want you to do, because you're wanting to build your career, so I need you to write a different way. And I went from trying to write a biography, the standardized and the normal way that was told, into doing it a different way. In the midst of writing it, I was thinking to myself, I said, people are going to reject this, people are going to look at me like I'm crazy. But as I started reviewing and reading it myself of what I was actually writing, I started realizing, again, it wasn't about me. It was about reaching out to an audience that felt like God had neglected them.
And now, speaking of reaching out to an audience that may be feeling like God has neglected them, your story is based on your life.
Yeah.
So one would assume with that statement that there was a point that you felt neglected and felt like maybe God was not on your side, or why me?
Yeah.
And in the description of your your book, it's very telling, and it's very you know, just for me, just knowing you and having worked with you in the past, it really has moved me to just read this because I know you. But and if I were to do this interview and just act like I can go through this interview and do questions and not feel anything, I wouldn't be human. So I must say that it has moved me just to read just the excerpts that I have. And I can't say it enough, but you're brave. You are very brave to do this. You're brave, you're courageous. You have really just put yourself out there, and people, as you said, you maybe the first edition that you were writing, you thought maybe people were gonna reject it, and as a writer myself, I know that at times we want to perfect our work, and we want to put out the best product that we possibly can. But you've decided to write from a real place. You've decided to share a part of you and your life that only you have to know, but you're willing to step up to your call as a messenger and deliver this message through your book. And that takes a really brave person to do that, because a lot of times people are called to tell their story and they don't want to. They back down because of the fear of rejection, because of the fear that they'd be isolated, or because just simply fearing that people won't understand where they're coming from. But you don't have a message instilled in you just to lie dormant. That message eventually has to come out. So when you've written in this book and you're talking about, one, being a young man dealing with bisexuality, growing up in a black church, being attacked, almost killed, then finding out that you have HIV, and these are, it sounds like one thing after another. Many of those things alone would make somebody want to just give up or jump off the bridge. So,
That's what a lot of people told me. So after even reading half of the book, they tell me, Matthew, I just don't get how you still smile.
mhm,
After dealing with just the first chapter, how are you smiling? Why do you still love people?
mhm,
How? And I say, God, I can't make you believe him, but I can show you why I do.
mhm. Wow.
And even with the book, yes, it's me talking about, like you said, one thing right after another. So it may be something different that somebody else is dealing with, one after another, but I'm showing people how you can still focus on what really matters, and that's faith and love, and how you can really get through it, pull out of whatever it is something's trying to drag you into.
Mhm. And which shows that you have a very positive attitude. You're a positive person. You know, you have a mind that tells you to go on in spite of, and you have faith. You have faith. You have incredible faith. Um, So let's talk about you taking this book. You started it in Atlanta, and then you get to New York, and then suddenly you get, not suddenly, but fast forwarding a bit, you receive opportunities to turn your book into a movie. Tell us about how all of that got set up.
Well, I actually when I was writing the book, I said, okay, so let me write the book. Let me go ahead and try to write a movie script. So I started writing the movie script, and I turned the book into the movie script, and I started writing. In my days in the shelves, I would write. Sometimes I would go over to McDonald's. I would sit in McDonald's, order a coffee because that's really all I could really afford, and I would start writing on the laptop, even though it was kind of starting to mess up. I befriended someone who lived here. They had a wireless keyboard. I plugged it into the laptop, and my keyboard stopped working. Started writing on it some more. So since I was in the shelter, I pretty much was utilizing my time. I would go to the library and I would start writing. And I finally finished writing it. Um, I want to say probably December, January of 2015. And then I tried to go ahead and get it picked up as a movie, but nobody seemed to be interested. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was just doing something instead of just sitting still. Um, and I want to say, even in July, I did a charity event for the organization, and I also had the movie attached to it because I was able to become a local producer here in New York City in the process. So within 2 days, I gathered a couple actors and myself, and we put a trailer together to give people a visual of what the movie itself would be about. I would say towards the end of July, I heard God ask me, he said, you turn this into about you again. It's not about you. It's about reaching these people who think I don't love them. And you're sitting here focused on trying to get the movie picked up to build your acting career. And it's good what you're doing because you want to build your career to help the organization, help more people. I understand what you're doing, but that's not what I want you to do. I need you to make this to turn this into a story and print the story. Stop trying to make the movie, print the story. And I wrestled with that for about a week. And I couldn't sleep. I said, okay, God, I hear you. And I finally broke and I started editing it and making it into the novel. And I added a couple more chapters. And I just started reviewing it and I started having people read it to get their opinion on how it looked, who wrote books. And they told me that they couldn't stop crying, that they felt like I needed to, that this was definitely something that they felt like should be put on the shelves. So I said, okay, God, I see what you're doing. I was like getting confirmation left and right. And again, I was struggling because I said, okay, this is not anything that I just made up. Like you said earlier, this is stuff that I actually dealt with. This is stuff based off things I've actually encountered and visions that I've had. And people are going to start looking at me and saying, and God said, didn't I tell you it's not about you? So it was still a lot of struggle with that. But once I hit that publish button and the first book was sold, and I started getting people reading it on Kindle, sending me messages on Facebook saying, I just want to say thank you, because I thought I was the only one dealing with this. And I thought God turned this back on me because of who I was, because the church told me I was going to hell. But you just helped give me hope and gave me direction and showed me God loves me, and I want to say thank you.
Wow. And sometimes a thank you is all that you need all the motivation that you need to continue going on. Sometimes if you just reach one person, that's all the confirmation that you need to know that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, to know that you're walking in your purpose. Sometimes we try to force other situations to develop because we think that one thing is our purpose, and we're trying so hard to develop talents in other areas when you already have a talent deep down inside of you, whether that be to smile for the camera and make people happy with your smile, or to act and entertain people with your ability to make them believe you are that character, whether it is to tell your story, your heartfelt story, and to allow people to know that you aren't the only one going through this. Sometimes we just have to take what we have and work it, instead of going way over yonder, as they would say. The old schoolers would say, you're going all the way over yonder to try to get a loaf of bread when you got a corner store right around the corner. So you have talents and things, and sometimes it's these rude awakenings that make us realize what we're really supposed to be doing. Not always, but sometimes.
And even with the process of that, I didn't realize it at the time, but because I was being obedient, God was developing talent in other areas as well, preparing me for what He was wanting to happen as a reward for being obedient.
Mm-hmm. And so, when did and without you revealing your whole book, you say that you went through a transformation.
The transformation itself was when I actually received what God had asked me to be, and that is that messenger. That is that Savior to help save those who feel like they're lost because of the darkness that is trying to consume them. It transformed me from the inside out. And it was such a major spiritual transformation that happened, that the people around me started to feel it. And they were already feeling it before I even recognized it myself.
Okay. So this book, would you say that it's categorized as a self-help book or a motivational book?
Definitely inspiration.
Inspiration, okay. And do you mind telling us what your faith is? Are you Christian?
My faith is definitely Christian based. I pray in Jesus' name to God Jehovah.
Okay.
And it's sometimes I can't even explain it myself because it's just so amazing. But I walk, and I'm gonna say, what would Jesus do? But I say, what did He do? And he's my role model through life. So I would definitely say Christian. I'm definitely Christian based faith.
Okay. And after releasing the book, I mean, what has the community? Are you back in church? I know that you had some problems with being in the black church before. Are you in church now? And if you are in church now, how does the community, or your congregation rather, receive you with you having this information out and this book?
Well, I've always been in church. When I was growing up in the church, I just kept it to myself on how I was feeling anything because they didn't really understand what I tried to explain. And they couldn't understand because they weren't living the life. They tried to compare it. Like my mom used to do it all the time, compare it to being an alcoholic. And I was trying to get them to understand it's not like being an alcoholic. It's not like I chose to be who I am. I can't just put down the bottle. That's not how this is working for me.
Mm-hmm.
But
And when you say that's not how this works for me, are you referencing to being bisexual and bisexuality?
Bisexuality, yeah.
Okay.
Because that's the only thing they keep saying. This is spirit, this is spirit, this is spirit. It's like, and I try to explain. I said the best way I can explain it to you is like you didn't choose the color of your skin, but you still have people that ridicule you because of your skin color. You can't change that. I know some people go and bleach their skin and change it, but it doesn't change the fact of what your DNA says. So don't try to tell me all I got to do is just I can't. I'm not going to deny and lie because the sad thing is you have people who pretend to be a certain way just to be accepted because they don't want to be bashed and ridiculed. But I refuse to do that. And that is one of the things I talk about in the book. And the purpose of the book is I'm not going to be ashamed of who I am. And God told me that. Be true to who I am.
Mm-hmm.
If there is anything within me that needs to be changed, He will change it. If He doesn't change it, stop worrying about that. And focus on the whole purpose, which is loving somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Many people would say that the church is the church and the Bible is very contradicting, and many congregations aren't accepting of people who are homosexual or bisexual, and they actually leave the church. How is it that you stayed in the church though? And I'm not saying how is it that you stayed a believer in God. I'm just wondering how is it that you arrived to the point in your life to say I'm going to stick it out with the church. And are you still going to a predominantly black church?
I am. I stayed in a church. I'm not gonna lie. I left for a while because it was very irritating to continue to watch the ignorance of what people were saying without knowing for themselves. You know, not living. They never lived the life themselves, but they had a whole lot to say about it. So I did back off for a while, and God brought an understanding to me that it wasn't people. I wasn't going to church or to the synagogue for the people. I was going to learn more about who He was. And I re-entered the church and I started, because I still prayed, and like you said, I definitely kept my relationship with God even though I wasn't going to the building. And when I was able to come back into the building, He just taught me to think for myself and develop a relationship for myself instead of just taking what someone was saying and say, yes, that's what happened. And I started to really grow on my own. Now, because I'm still in the reason why God keeps me in the predominantly black churches is to help to show them, which I still a lot are seeing now, and getting that understanding. Wow, wait a minute, maybe I was going about this the wrong way because I started noticing that they were teaching from an angle of anger and hatred instead of love and understanding. So they had to see, and that was one of the things that I'm noticing with this book as well. They're starting to see because a lot of people don't share what they're feeling on the inside and keep it to themselves. And by me writing this book and starting to show people in the church, this is how we're making people feel. Is this what we're supposed to be doing? Because it goes against what we say we're supposed to be doing. how can we say we're supposed to love somebody? And I had asked one lady who I was talking to, who she asked me about the book, and she told me that gay people were not allowed in her church. And I asked her who was the deity that they were serving in her church. And she said it was God, it was Jesus. And I said, well, if you read the Bible in your church, doesn't the Bible say, how can you love a God you've not seen, and you can't love a brother who you've seen sitting next? Doesn't it say something about that? So why would you tell someone who's gay they have to leave your church and hate them, and then turn around after they walk out the door and say, I love you, Jesus? How does that work? And it started to make her think. And I met this young lady on a movie set that we were doing last year. The same young lady who I had this conversation with, who seemed so full of hate and anger, I met last week. And she came to me and she said, wow, that conversation with you had changed me. Do you remember me? I said, you seem different, but you look familiar. She said, I'm the young lady who you talked with when we worked on the movie, Bernie Madoff movie. I said, wow, your energy seems different. She said, she just smiled.
Wow. You know, people are hating each other for so many different reasons. The world has enough hate in it. And I've always been a firm believer that any organization that is supposed to represent a loving God, a good God, should represent also love. So if you are spewing hate, how can you represent love at the same time? That's always been contradicting for me, something that I've always pondered on. Just like, how can people who say they represent love also then turn around and spew out hate? Which brings me to another question for you regarding your journey to transforming it. After, I mean, obviously it's a book, but you do have some supporters that are ready to back you and turn this into a movie. So apparently some people are feeling your heart. Can you tell us about, the wonderful opportunities that you've been embraced with? Because obviously there are some people that are showing you some love.
Yes, and like I said, it was very hard to go ahead and push that publish button, because it's dealing with something that I actually was holding inside. A lot of things that I talk about in the book, I was holding inside, because I felt like I would be looked at as weird, crazy, or just, I didn't know. I just didn't want the name calling, and I just had to think of, like I said, it wasn't about me, and I just went ahead and released it. I started getting the people responses saying, this is a story that needs to be told. This is a story that needs to be told. And a couple of directors, independent directors, were saying how they feel like this is a very, very important message that needs to be out there. And they were wanting and willing to do what they needed to do to help get the story out. I kept trying to tell them, well, I don't have money to pay anybody, and they said, I don't care about the money. It's about the story. Let's get the story out there. And they started giving me the information that I needed to do, and just giving me their training, because they went to school for filming, and they just started showing me, and they are showing me, because we're working together now on how to get this out there, and I'm just noticing, and I'm watching how people are just gravitating towards this story, because I was able to be obedient and just open up and share. And I'm noticing some other people are starting to share their stories as well.
So where are you now in the production of the movie?
Right development. The director and the producers are actually they're redoing the budget right now. They say they feel like they have some potential investors, but because they haven't actually gotten the check from these investors, they're still pushing until someone actually comes and signs some documentation to actually fund the project. But in the process of that, a lot of people who do marketing and write magazines, printed magazines as well, they're saying that they want to help get the story out so that way the people who do have the funding, who want to be a part of something positive, will have the opportunity to do that so the story can get in the theaters and that people can be helped.
Okay, so do you have a crowdfunding campaign going on right now so that people could donate if they're interested in donating and sponsoring the project?
Not just yet, well, because we just did the IMDb page, which is the film industry page. We're getting ready to put it on Indiegogo. So it seems like we're just pretty much putting the story out there to get people familiar with the story. So once the Indiegogo crowdfunding page is created, people will be already familiar with the story and they'll be more than willing to support it and fund the project.
What has the support been like from your family and maybe some of your friends from back home in Florida?
It's been such a healing because I went home a couple weeks ago and I was able to visit my family, and it brought my mom and I a little closer because she said she never knew, and she swore to protect her kid from everything, and she did not know a lot of things that I was feeling and holding inside, and she apologized for making me feel the way she did.
Wow.
And I just let her know it was okay because it made me who I am today, and I'm helping people.
Mhm. Wow. Wow.
But just to know that she would have stepped up if I was able to open up, made me feel even better.
Wow. Wow. It's a healing process. Oh wow. Through every journey you go through a healing process. You go through you climb some mountains, you may fall down. You get back up, you walk a little bit more. You get tired, you sit down, you walk a little bit more. And through the journeys that you have, sometimes along the way you pick up a lot of burdens, things that hold you down, that slow down your process, but then you reach a point where the healing comes. The healing, the cleansing. Sometimes it rains during your journey, and the rain isn't always bad. Sometimes the rain is the cleansing, and it's needed. It's needed. Well, it's definitely that's a good thing that you and your mom were able to connect and talk about some things, but also let go of some things. And it's good that you have a forgiving heart so that you can have that relationship with your mother. I mean, whew, that's good. That's good. That's good. And I'm sure that she is beyond thankful that you forgive her, because she is now able to have a better understanding of who you are and hopefully a closer relationship with you.
A lot closer. And she said, there's a lot of things that she didn't know, even about the lifestyle, because in her mind, she thought people chose to be gay. She said, I'm just listening to you and watching you, and I see some people do choose this because they got hurt in relationships, but not everybody do.
Mm-hmm.
She, of course, still feel like it is a spirit, but she feels like that's the spirit that has a purpose, that people who are still filled with purpose, and that even on the deathbed of a person, that God will come and take them and say, well done, and bring them in his kingdom.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. So, wow. Very powerful story. Very, very powerful story. So, in the meantime, while the film is being developed, are you doing any book tours, any book signings? What's going on with your promotion of the book?
Well, right now I've been doing a lot of online promotions. I'm saving up now to buy a quantity enough so I can do a book signing, because I don't work a 9 to 5, but that's not to change. Working a career or regular job, I just got opportunity to be a flight attendant for Frontier Airlines, and they're flying me out to Denver next week for orientation interview, which will give me the opportunity to fly from state to state to do book signings and book tours to promote the book. And since I self-publish it, I can get it wholesale, get enough to go ahead and do book signings. I have a couple of libraries here in New York that are wanting me to go ahead and do some book signings, and then a couple people in Atlanta who are wanting to set up a couple book signings to get the book out even more, because I haven't really officially done one yet. I'm working on that now.
Okay. Right. So, if you had to, you're a messenger, right? So, if you had one message that you had to leave behind, and you had to wrap that message up in maybe a few sentences, out of all the things that you've experienced in life, the various journeys that you've embarked, what would be your last message to the world today?
Pretty much the message I put on the cover. Do what you can, when you can, while you can, with love.
Do what you can, when you can, while you can, with love. Wow. Wow. So, Matthew, if you could please share with us a few links to where our readers and also your fans and followers can find you on social media and your official website, that would be great.
You can find me on Facebook, Matthew Carter, Instagram, as well as Twitter. It's God War Angel. God with the S, War Angel. And the website for the organization is www.arealdesire.org. And there's also a fan page on Facebook for A Real Desire.
And where can readers find your book online?
Right now, they can find it on Amazon.com, or I prefer people to go to Amazon Smile, and they can select A Real Desire as their charity of choice, and every purchase they make through Amazon will go toward A Real Desire.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys, there you have it. This has been just about an hour with Matthew Carter. And this has been a very deep deep, and emotional interview. But this young man definitely has goals, ambition, and he has a message to deliver, and he's determined to get it out. So I'm asking you all to support Matthew Carter and pick up a copy of his book, War Angel, The Awakening. You can find it, as he said, on Amazon.com, or you can find it on, is it Amazon Smile, Amazon.com Smile?
AmazonSmile.com.
Okay. And he gave out several of his social media links, and they will also be in the article below. So you can just click on the links in the article and they will take you directly to his book on Amazon. There will also be a link below. If you look down below, there's a link for A Real Desire and a link to him on Twitter and on Instagram as well. Matthew, it has been my pleasure to interview you today and to follow up with you and just to find out what's been going on with you. I am definitely looking forward to following your career and watching you flourish. I am so proud of you. I want you to know that I'm proud of you. I'm proud that you are just being honest with yourself, you know. And that's something that many of us struggle with. Whether we smoke cigarettes, smoke weed, whether we steal, whether we're committing blue collar crimes, white collar crimes, there's a lot of people that got a lot of things going on with them and a lot of reasons that they deny even having any problems or any issues or any challenges. So it takes a lot for a person to step forward and just be honest with themselves, much less being honest with the public. So I want to thank you again for taking the time to speak with me and to share your story and your journey with the readers of Enjoy Life magazine. And I want you to know that I wish you the very best.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. This has been Lakesha Woods with Enjoy Life magazine. Until next time, live, love, laugh, and enjoy life.